Well, hey, thanks for checking out this video on chasing horsepower. And I'm really pumped up about this vehicle right here because it's literally one of the last standing rear-wheel drive high-performance cars that you can buy in the market. It's the 2025 Nissan Z. This one happens to be the Nismo package. And before I get into the car, you know, we live in a world today in the auto industry where we're talking about electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, and we're talking about which vehicles we should be buying at dealerships and which vehicles should be on the road. And it's all become, to be quite honest, too politicized. Well, today we say screw that crap and we talk about something that's really awesome. If you're a pure driving enthusiast like me, and even for today, I grabbed my SEMA jacket. And if you're in the auto industry, you know what SEMA is, right? The Specialty Equipment Market Association. It's the world's largest automotive aftermarket show where vehicles like this have had their heyday. So we're going to talk about what makes this one of the last bastions of automotive excellence. A rear-wheel drive, turbocharged, exhilarating vehicle to drive. All right, you guys ready? We're going to get in. We're going to talk about what makes the 2025 Nissan Z Nismo one of the best cars you can buy on the market if you're looking for an all-out, fire-breathing, rear-wheel driven, turbocharged Dragon. Let's take a look. All right, so before we get under the hood and look at the engine, let's just kind of highlight what's happening up top here. So you got that Nissan Nismo logo. If you don't know what Nissan Nismo stands for, well, that's Nissan Motorsports, and it's the high-performance side of the house. Little bit of dirt up here. Been driving in the rain the last few days, but let's get under it. Let's talk about what's happening here under the hood. So you got a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6, and it's pushing out 420 horsepower. The first thing I noticed is the crossbar over the top of the engine right here, and that just screams performance, right? Whether you're out on the track or carving some really cool S-turns up in the foothills or the mountains, you know that this vehicle is all about stability when you're out on the racetrack, which I have actually been with this out west, up at Sonoma, out at their racetrack. Had a chance to take this out on the track, and I can tell you this thing is all about high performance. It's mated with this 9-speed automatic transmission, which is really cool, but what I don't like is the fact that you can get the automatic transmission, which is only offered on the Nismo, but if you go with a standard Nissan Z, you still have that option for a 6-speed manual gearbox. It's the one thing I would tell the engineering team is, although we understand that shifting is much more fluid, and sequenced, if you're using paddle shifters, it's quicker. I still love the idea of controlling my own destiny by shifting the vehicle using a manual gearbox. And that's something that I would tell the Nissan engineers, like, look, you want to sell more of these? One of the reasons that we buy cars like this is that we really love a manual gearbox. So you got to bring the manual gearbox back, guys, because that's what's going to set this vehicle apart. So let's talk a little bit about the design. And, you know, when the Z first came out, you know, I call them teardrops. They're just really cool design. This is a synonymous look with Nissan. LED lights, you got the Nissan logo right here, big and bold. And then all your Nismo packaging always comes with this really cool red look. So you got the red lower stripe on the front bumper. You got the Nissan Nismo logo right here with the red on it. I kind of step back and I look at it and I go, you know what? You got the black decal up on the hood. You got the lights that are black, then you got the white, you look at the red down at the bottom. It gives it a very performance-oriented stance. As we make our way down the side, we're going to stop and talk a little bit about suspension. We'll talk more when we're driving, but I just want to kind of walk you through it all really fast. So what's really unique is that we're running these Dunlop tires on this vehicle, and these are the Sport Maxes, because I hadn't looked yet, but they're tacky. These are racetrack tires. Even through a parking lot like this, you're picking up every piece of gravel and you can hear that. So if you're thinking about this Nismo vehicle and you want to buy one, you got to really evaluate the option on, do I want this as my daily driver or do I want this as a fun track car on the weekend? If you're going with these Dunlop option tires on it right here, you have to be very conscious of the fact that you're going to pick up everything on the road. These tires are really meant to be part of that blistering speed, the performance package that you have out there on the track. These wheels are absolutely awesome. I love the design of these special Z Nismo wheels. And of course, you got the red caliper, right? It just ties in so well. So you got the red on the side, the red caliper, and then you make your way down the side of the vehicle. You know, what's really unique and I love from the design, you know, from the design team at Nissan is that they use the red sparingly, but in the right places. So, you know, the red carries all the way down around the bottom of the vehicle, but then they just put a nice little red line here in the black mirror up on top. You got the LED marker on the side. And I just, again, it's that same theme that kind of carries its way down. And if I look down on top of this mirror is almost the exact design of your front headlight up here. And then that same design on the headlight and the mirror is the same design that you kind of see right here in the side of the window, the way the casing is done on the window. Again, just really setting the vehicle apart. Nice seamless handles on the side. Give it just a nice pronounced look. And then if you look at kind of the side skirts down here, come all the way down. This is not a functional vent, but it's just a design feature. Again, it all follows that same flowing design that Nissan has. And then you've got that Z logo. This is something to me that it has a lot of history and reference, right? We think about Datsuns, the 240Z. We think about the previous generations of the Z, and this most modern one is probably one of my favorite versions that they built today. And then, we look at the same tire package back here. I do want to point this out on top. We think about aerodynamics when you're out driving a car like this. You got a little bit of an uplift right here on the rear. This is to help create a little bit of downforce on the vehicle. And then you've got your spoiler on the back as you edge your way around. Spoiler does the same thing. So you got a lot of downforce on the rear, and that's because they want you to know that when you're taking this vehicle out on the track, it's going to be capable. And I can tell you, it's not just capable. Most importantly, it's a lot of fun to drive. All right, so if you think about what I was talking about up on the front of the vehicle with the decal, the Nismo on the hood, I waited till we got to the back to show you the follow through, which is amazing. So the hood up on the front, it comes up, and then that decal comes right over the top and all the way on the rear. So you can see it on the top. It's just this really cool pattern that flows through with the vehicle. You've got a mild spoiler here on the rear. I like that they didn't go too heavy into the spoiler. You got your LED lights that run across the rear. Of course, you got your Z logo, your Nismo logo in the back. And of course, that red line carries all the way through with the design. And then again, as I always like to do, I step back up. You've got dual exhaust on the rear. Again, just the design of this really sets it apart. I will say it's very Japanese when we think about really cool performance Japanese vehicles. This embodies that. And if we think about the automotive aftermarket as a whole, I think what's unique is that Nissan and the Nismo team kind of replaced a lot of those Japanese aftermarket companies that were really getting into the tuner market, right? We think about HKS, Apex, and Greddy. These names are synonymous with the Japanese automotive aftermarket. Well, when Nissan started coming to the market and bringing to dealers actual OEM-based vehicles like this right here, you're getting all those features without having to do the work. And I really think that's cool. That you have the ability to get the dual exhaust, right? It sounds really good. You get the twin turbocharged engine. You get the aftermarket wheels and tires. I think everything that they've done with this vehicle has really set it up perfectly for the consumer in the market that wants to have an affordable yet trackable vehicle that they can take to just about any course on the weekend. All right, so before we hit the road and start driving and talking about the characteristics of the Nissan Z Nismo, let's talk about the interior. There is so much awesomeness on the inside. If there's one vehicle on the market that really makes you feel like you are in a race car, the only other vehicle I could think of starts at $109,000, and that's the BMW M3 Competition. It has that feel on the inside with the racing seats. So let's start with that. You got the customized Nismo Recaro seats, and of course, they are lined in that Alcantara with the red leather on them. I love the fact that it says Nismo right over my shoulder. Then you look at your steering wheel, right? The cockpit formation of this. You've got paddle shifters. Really easy to shift into paddle mode using the shifter knob down here, the automatic one. You just push it back. It'll shift it into a manual mode so you can shift through the gears. It's got the center line on the steering wheel, kind of synonymous with the Ford Raptor. You have that here in the Nissan as well. And then you have a beautiful red digital gauge cluster, the red indicating Nissan Nismo. You've got 3 individual old school gauge clusters up here as well that measure things off for your vehicle, your tack, if you will, while you're driving. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and then down here, even your start-stop button and your D mode, which are your driving modes, little red caps on top. Just, again, emphasizing the fact that this is a race vehicle. But let's talk a little bit about comfort as well. So one thing I really, really like, it's not an Easter egg, but from a design standpoint, it's really cool, is over where I can open the door, there's actually my air vent. So the air vent is mounted inside the door panel, not up on the dash. Of course, you got your 2 here, but man, that's really, really cool. It is pushing air at me, and it makes me think if I'm out on a track wearing a helmet for a track day, man, I got a lot cooler air coming at me right here. And I think that's something that I really, really like. Outside of that, traditional interior cockpit of the vehicle, but again, it's all about that feel of being in a race car. By the way, over my shoulder, you've got another one of these, we'll call it a stabilizer bar. This is going from the quarter panel from one side to the other. Again, reducing that torsional rigidity, making it so that the vehicle is really tight when you're out there on the track, right? So you've got one that's meant crossbar that's over the engine, and you've got a crossbar right behind me between the wheel wells, and that again is just giving you that stability when you're out on the track. All right, and just one other quick note, because you don't have second row seating, is you got a crossbar right here that's going to increase your torsional rigidity. Same thing that's being done on the engine, crossbar over the engine on front. Both of these are meant to just give you better driving dynamics when you're out there on the track, keeping the vehicle firm and steady and planted to the ground. All right, so there's a lot to talk about as we get ready to drive the Nissan Z, because frankly, that's what we wanted to get to, was the driving portion. So windows down, cars off. I just want you to hear how it sounds with that twin turbocharged V6 as we fire it up. But I also have another motive. By the way, the red gauge cluster is pretty awesome, the way they've designed it on this. It just feels cool. All right, so as I put it into gear and we get ready to take off, remember what I was saying outside about the tackiness of the tires? Are you ready for this? I'm actually going to put down both driver and passenger window. You ready? Listen. You can totally hear that. We are picking up so much road noise from the tackiness of the tires. Something that you do have to think about, right? Now, I know this parking lot has a bit of gravel in it, but it's just a regular parking lot. So, all right, windows are going to go up so we can talk a little bit more about the sound of the vehicle. So, right now I've got it in regular drive mode. It's going to hold the RPM before it shifts to the next gear. So even coming out of the parking lot, I was in third gear. The car decided it was in third gear. It's a train right there with no stop. So again, what's really unique is the fact that it's going to maintain that higher RPM because it's the Nismo, the higher performance version, while it's shifting. If you want to use the D mode, which I love to do, put it in sport mode, you heard it drop down really fast. That just takes the whole entire driving dynamics from the way the transmission makeup is designed. So the shifting between gears is going to be much more precise, faster, and it's all based on that concept of making this a performance driving vehicle meant for the track. So I'm going to go ahead and start using the manual. I say manual, I shouldn't. The paddle shifters. It's kind of the same thing to me. All right, so I'm in D5, 4. You can hear it drop down. This thing just has such a great sound when it's at high RPM. You know, when you think about turbo technology, sometimes you have what's called turbo lag. There is no lag in this vehicle, none whatsoever. All right, I'm going to come up to a stop sign here, and I'm going to put the window down. You can hear it downshift, kicking that exhaust sound out. Sounds amazing. All right, so back out on country roads, you know, the one thing you do have to take into consideration is the suspension. It's meant for the track, so it's a lot bumpier, you know, than you would expect for a vehicle that you're going to drive on the street, right? So you have to know going into it that your focus has to be on weekend driver and something you're likely going to take out on the racetrack, because that's the way the suspension has been designed with this vehicle. And they've done a great job with it, but to keep this race focused, the priority has to be tight suspension. So let's just get a really good idea, you know, on that 0 to 60 feel kind of from a stop. So we're in first gear. We just come to a stop. Let's just rip through the gears and see how it sounds. It's awesome, and it's fast. I mean, that's 90 miles an hour right there, up to 6th gear. The thing moves quickly. This is where the tackiness of the tires pays off, right? 2nd gear, you could feel it. It was gripping hard, and that's what the tires are doing. You know, when they're contacting that pavement, is they're sticking hard, and that gives you the performance that you want on the track. All right, so here's what I can tell you guys about the Nissan Z with the Nismo package, is that I've had a chance to take it out on the track, and it is absolutely amazing to drive. It's super fun, and if I wanted to buy a track car that I could also enjoy on the weekends out on, you know, regular streets, it's gonna be one of these vehicles right here. It's gonna be this or a Mustang, right? Do you want the big V8 and a throaty sound of a V8? Or do you want a twin turbocharged V6? It's really just kind of what is your flavor of ice cream. Your price your price on this is right around $65,000 for the Nissan Z with the Nismo package. If you're looking at a standard base price Nissan Z, you're gonna be looking at about $43,000. So the question you have to ask yourself as a consumer is, are you gonna be okay sacrificing that manual gearbox for the higher performance Nissan Z Nismo? Or do you wanna be a little bit more of a purist and go with that 6-speed manual gearbox? The question is ultimately up to you. I know if it was me, I would be hammering hard on those engineers at Nissan and the product planners saying, guys, can't you just give me this in a manual gearbox? I understand the whole science and technology around who's shifting faster, the brain or the computer with the automatic transmission. I would make the argument that it doesn't matter. I love to drive, and for me, driving, especially with a vehicle that like this that's not going to be my daily driver, I want to be able to use that manual gearbox. I hope you all enjoyed this video as much as we've enjoyed putting it together on the 2025 Nissan Z Nismo. There is a lot to like about this car. If you're not following our other social channels with other really amazing vehicles on it, make sure you're doing that on Instagram at It's Mike Caudill, and then Facebook at It's Mike Caudill. But most importantly, if you like this video that you're seeing here on Chasing Horsepower, stamp that subscribe button because we could use your like.